Hey guys, here with a video showing you how to do a tune-up on a 1991 Nissan 240SX. This is very similar for the single cam guys who have the 89 and 90 240s, but as I said, it'll work for, this is a dual cam motor, so it'll work for this as well. This procedure pretty much will work for any cars that have distributors still, plugs and wires, not the new cars now that just have coil on plugs and things like that. Tune-ups for those cars now just pretty much consist of air filters, cabin filters, and oil changes. I am going to do an oil change on this later, but just not right now in this video. In this video, I'll only be showing you how to replace the air filter, the spark plugs, and the cap and rotor. Normally you would want to replace the spark plug wires also, but for time purposes, I thought I had some, but I didn't, so I'll go grab them later on, and they're pretty easy to put on. So the tools you'll need is a flathead screwdriver, a 5/8 spark plug socket, a 6-inch extension. I usually get two 6-inch extensions. You also need a Phillips screwdriver. Obviously you'll need 4 spark plugs. I went with the NGK. I don't know if you can see that there. I went with the NGK BKR5E-11. So I don't know why that thing's not zooming in on it, but. And then also I just went with your basic O'Reilly Auto Part air filter and cap and rotor. So the first thing I will do is I'm going to do the spark plugs first, but in order to give you a better view of the distributor cap here, I'm going to remove this airbox lid, since I will have to remove it anyway to get the air filter in there. So the first thing you want to do is to disconnect this here connector. It has a little metal tab on top here. Sometimes you can get away with just pushing this down and pulling it off, but if you cannot do that, you will need to use your flathead screwdriver to remove this metal pin from the bottom so you can slide it off. After that, you just want to go on ahead and remove the 4 tabs that are on holding down the airbox lid. There's one here, and there's 2 in the back. And another one right there. Okay, so after you've done that, you can go on ahead and get a 10mm socket so you can loosen up this here clamp right here. So I'm trying to remove the airbox entirely, so that's why I'm going to remove this here. Normally you wouldn't have to do this if you were doing the air filter. Usually you can just lift up this lid here and take it off, but like I said, I wanted to give you guys a better view of the distributor cap, so I'm going to remove everything. There is also another 8mm screw that's right down here. It has a Phillips head, so you can just use a Phillips screwdriver. Unless you have an 8mm handy socket, then you can do that. Then you can go ahead and pull this hose off the side. So to recap, 10mm, all the clamps on the side, the connector here, and the 1 8mm holding this hose on the side, which I've already pulled off. And you can just lift the lift the airbox up. This is the old air filter. It's pretty dirty. This car has been sitting since 2003, so I'm just trying to breathe some life back into it. Then you go ahead and remove the airbox like so, the airbox lid. Now you'll be looking right at the distributor, which is right here. The cap and the rotor. The cap is underneath this here, and then the rotor is actually inside the cap. So now that that's done, we can go on ahead and move to the spark plugs. Let's see if I can zoom in here and get you a little bit closer. There we go. Now, since I will not be replacing the spark plug wires, I went on ahead and labeled them. You probably can see in the video 1, 2, 3, and 4, just so I know where they go and I do not get confused. I'm going to pull off all the spark plug wires as a whole, and then I'm going to remove them off of the cap here. It's pretty easy to, remove most of these. You just pull straight up on them and pull them out. Okay, after you have gotten all of the spark plug wires out, I just took them out and laid them to the side. Those were putting up a bit of a fight, as you can tell. Once again, the car is really old, so it took me a little bit of time to get them all out, but just be patient with them, because the last thing you want to do is break all these little plastic pieces down inside the tubes here, and that would really suck to get out. So the next thing I will want to do is to remove the spark plugs. You just use a 5/8 spark plug socket. As you can probably see, I don't know if you guys have changed many spark plugs, but usually these come with rubber on the inside to grab onto the spark plug like so that the spark plug does not fall out when you're putting it down in there. However, I found in the past that they really put some really thick rubber in there, so when you install the spark plugs and you go to pull your socket out, your socket ends up stuck inside there, and it's really hard to come out. So what I've done is put tape on this and this to make sure that when I pull out my socket, it actually comes out with the extension. This works for me. It may be cheap, but my goodness, if you guys have experienced the amount of stuck sockets I've gotten in these, it's pretty crazy. So I guess this is just a tip for you. Obviously you can remove the tape when you're done, or in my case I just leave this like this because I change a lot of spark plugs, so I never take it off. But nonetheless, you got your 3/8 ratchet. All you want to do now is just remove all the spark plugs. I'll go ahead and remove the first one out. You just need to break it loose, and most of the time you can just unscrew it by hand and it will come out. Obviously you would need to do this three more times. And there's the spark plug. This one actually is looking pretty normal, but I'll go ahead and pull out the other 3 spark plugs for you so you can see them. Okay, I've gotten all 4 spark plugs out now. So now you just would take and install your new spark plugs. These on this car need to be gapped to 44 thousandths. When you buy your spark plugs, make sure you ask the parts guy what the gap is supposed to be for the spark plug. The gap meaning the area in between the top of this and the top of the little electrode there. You can use this little tool here to gap them. You stick them right inside here. I don't know if it'll zoom in on me or not. Maybe it will. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Sorry. So you would stick this little piece inside here like this, and you would slide it up until it gets to 44 thousandths, and that's how you would set your spark plug gap. So yeah, after you got all 4 of those done, you can go on ahead and stick the new spark plugs back into the motor. Make sure you try and start these with your hand and get them all hand tightened first, because the last thing you want to do is strip the threads inside of your cylinder head. Since the cylinder head is aluminum, that would be very bad. So make sure you get them all started by hand, and then you can go on ahead and tighten them down. Okay, I've got all the 4 new spark plugs in, so now we can focus our attention on the distributor, which is this thing here that says Nissan on it, and nice enough for them to label each cylinder in case you do so happen to forget where your spark plug wires go. This is cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3 is on the bottom, and cylinder 4 is on the right. To get to the cap and rotor, you need to pull this little cap off. It just pops off. There you can see all the spark plug wires going in here. The next thing you want to do is to remove the spark plug wires And as I mentioned before, I've labeled my wires so I know where they'll go. So I'm going to go ahead and remove them all from these little plastic clips that's holding them on, and then removing them entirely off of the off of the cap. You also remember to take this one out that leads to the external coil, and go ahead and pull that one off as well. They just pop right off. And there you have it. And you can just take them out or set them to the side or whatever you're going to do. I'm going to set mine to the side because I'm using them again. And so this is the cap here that you have. You can go ahead and pull this little piece off that just slides around. Again, it's labeled as coil 1, 2, 3, and 4. Some of your Nissans may have this still, some of them may not. So here, now you're looking at the cap itself, which is held on by 2 Phillips screwdrivers, or excuse me, Phillips screws, one here and one on the bottom. Take note of how you take this off. This little piece right here, the post is right here on the top, the one that has no wire that goes to it. So just remember how that was on there. Go ahead and remove that now. Be careful because some of your new kits may not come with new screws, so just be careful not to drop them. Oh, these are nice. These actually stay in the cap. So you can go ahead and remove it. Now you'll be looking right at the rotor, which is this piece here. Some of these are held on by screws that would be right here on the back, like on a lot of Hondas. And then some of these just pop on and off like this one does. This one just slides on and off. We can go on ahead and use, sometimes you can just pull them off with your hand. Sometimes you may need a flathead screwdriver to kind of help you, start to get it off, which may be the case for this one. So we shall find out here in a minute. No, this one actually will just pull straight off. And also remember the orientation it was on when you pulled it off. So mine was facing this direction like so. So I went on ahead and pulled it off. This one actually is pretty worn, but I got a new one, so we'll put that one on now. I got a new piece here. Just slide it back on the exact same way I took it off, just like so. Make sure it's seated all the way down. And I also got a new cap. This one's also labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you remember, just like this cap was. So everything's here to help you remember, so you don't lose track. Some cars are not as nice, or car manufacturers, and they want you to just lose your mind if you so happen to mess it up. But fortunately, there's Google, and you can figure that out. And there's YouTube videos like this one. So we just simply put the cap back on, like so. Let me go ahead and get the screws out, actually. Let me get those real quick. My cap came with new screws, so I will be using those. Lucky for me. Now keep in mind that you're just tightening onto plastic, so you don't need to go crazy onto it so you don't crack it or break it. All you gotta do is really just take your time, make sure you get everything seated right. There you have it. So now that's back on. You can go ahead and slide this. We'll see if this actually. Okay, got it figured out here. Make sure that these numbers are facing out towards you, and then you can go ahead and just slide that back over top like that, and then you'll go on ahead and reinstall your wires back into the locations that they go. The coil wire always goes in the middle, on the middle post, like so. Then you'll run all your other cylinders as they're labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's pretty self-explanatory. You just push the wires back onto the post here. Make sure they're nice and firm and tight on there, and then you can go on ahead and put this cover back on. It just snaps back into place like so, and then you would just run your wires to the respective cylinders. Cylinder 1 being in the front, cylinder 4 being in the back. The air filter on and reinstall that, since I did take it off. So I'm going to go ahead and get the new air filter out of the box. So this is a new air filter versus the old one. You can see there's a major difference there. Check on the other side, much cleaner. So we'll go ahead and just pop that back into the box here, like so. Make sure it's all sitting flat and flush. Then you will go on ahead and take the airbox lid and stick it right back on. Oh, seems like the connector fell down here. Make sure that's up out of the way. You can stick the airbox lid back on. Like so. Make sure you put this, slide this back into here like that. You can go ahead and reconnect your connector. Don't forget to put this small hose back on that you took off of the side here. Like so. Then you go ahead and reconnect all 4 of the clips, the 2 on the back. This one on the back down here is a little harder to get to. Okay. Then you go ahead and tighten this 10mm back up. Make sure that the hose is all the way on as far as it can go. And you can tighten it back up. I usually just tighten it with my hand because it's tight enough. And then you can tighten up this 8mm that's back here, or use a Phillips screwdriver to tighten that back up. And there you have it. After you've done that, you can go on ahead and start your vehicle up and make sure that you don't have any misfires. Make sure it's running smoothly. If you have any misfires, just double check your wire connections, and also double check to make sure you have the wires in the correct spot on the cap and running to the correct cylinder. So I've seen a lot of guys replace them, and you know, it happens. We make mistakes, we forget where the wires go, and the car, you know, they'll get to go start their car and it won't start. And usually it's no fault, you know, really. You just got the wires in the wrong locations. But as I said, Nissan makes it really easy. The cap is labeled, the cover over the cap is labeled, so you can see where they go. And then, as I said, this is cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, and cylinder 4 is in the back. So you have successfully completed a basic tune-up on the 240SX. And as I mentioned, this is the type of tune-up you will be doing on any car that has a distributor with spark plugs, the spark plug wires, the cap and rotor. Of course, you know, all the other cars are not going to be Nissans, and you may not have to take off the airbox, but you get the gist of it. This is what a basic tune-up consists of. So you know, any other car you may work on, your Hondas, old Ford, any old car that has a distributor, this is what you will be doing. So I hope this video helped you guys, and I really appreciate the support you guys are giving me. I am almost close to 300 subscribers now, and that's excellent. I'm very happy. I'm blessed to have you all here with me. I hope that I can continue to help you guys out. And as usual, if you have any questions or comments, just ask them in the comment section below. I try to be really good about answering questions. Even if your question may not pertain to this, I can definitely help you out. So that way you don't have to go pay a mechanic to do the diagnostics and pay them $150 for them just to tell you what's wrong. So yeah, just leave a comment in the section below. If this is your first time to the channel, and you like this and you would like to see more car repair videos, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button, and share this with your friends if you could. That would be great. Alright, you guys, until next time.